My name is Megan Hayes. I'm 29 and I live in Plano, Texas, near Dallas with my husband Ryan. I work customer support for a software company and I like simple things that work. Bills paid on time, plans written down, and quiet nights on our small balcony. While the one complicated thing I own is a little duplex in Richardson that my mom left me when she passed. It isn't fancy or new, but the rent is steady and it keeps our life calm, which is exactly why my mother-in-law, Patricia, Pat Hayes, hates that it sits outside her idea of family, because to her, family means control. And lately that word has come wrapped in another word she says like a hymn: family trust. When Ryan's sister Sophie got engaged to Kyle Brooks, a real estate guy with a new suit, a dealership smile, and the habit of calling strangers partner, Pat began a campaign: all assets together, one trust, one plan, one leader. Smile aimed at me like it was love, but it sounded like I was supposed to hand over my keys. Kyle backed her with buzzwords telling me he could optimize my duplex by moving it into his LLC first, then into the trust so we could unlock equity. And when I said no, he laughed as if I'd told a cute joke I didn't understand. One Sunday at Pat's house, I noticed something that made my stomach ice over. I'd set my phone on the kitchen counter while I chopped vegetables. A two-factor code text for my email popped up. I saw Pat glance down, then away, and that night my inbox showed new device signed in, Samsung, for 2 minutes, which is exactly what Pat uses. I changed nothing yet, just took a breath, because I have learned that panic breaks proof. The next morning, a message in my spam tried to look like my lawyer. Quitclaim deed, signature requested. The name matched, the email address was off by one letter, like a fake door next to the real door. I didn't click. I took a screenshot and called my friend, Jess Bennett, who works in IT and breaks fakes for fun. She said forward nothing, screenshot everything, set up a recording app for unknown callers, turned on heavy security alerts for my email and bank, and told me to watch for small bank pings. By afternoon, one arrived, title search, $98. Which I did not order. Something was moving under my feet. I started a folder the way you start a small lab: fake DocuSign screenshot, bank alert, the Samsung login notice. Then I checked the Ring camera I installed at the duplex after a porch theft last winter. On Tuesday at 9:56 p.m., the camera caught Kyle walking up with a notary packet, trying the knob, then sliding a manila envelope through the mail slot before hurrying away. The next morning, my tenant Lena Morales texted a photo. This looks important. The envelope said, trust intake, sign and return, and inside were forms telling the tenants to redirect rent to a new bank account for the owner, only the owner was not me. I told Lena, please don't sign, and to hold it for me. I saved the clip, printed the envelope, and put both in the folder. That night, Lena checked her dash cam and found Kyle's car idling across the street. The timestamp matched the Ring clip. Meanwhile, in the family group chat, Pat wrote, after the wedding, we'll start the family trust. All assets together, no more chaos, and hearts popped under it while I took a screenshot and said nothing. The next evening, Jess called and said she had pulled a DocuSign audit trail from my screenshot metadata. The sender account was created 2 days ago, the IP address matched a workstation at Kyle's brokerage, and the PDF metadata said prepared by KB Management, which is Kyle's LLC. I felt anger surge and pass like a wave. I wrote down facts because facts are calm and win slowly but for a long time. On Friday, we had the rehearsal dinner at a Dallas hotel. Kyle clacked my back too hard and said, sister, after the honeymoon, we'll move that duplex into a better vehicle. I can unlock equity. You'll thank me. And I said, start with a better word, consent. And his smile didn't reach his eyes. Then Pat pulled me aside and called me sweetheart and said I was being stubborn and the family trust would protect me. I told her it already did. She asked from whom, and I said, from people who call control love. I was in charge of the wedding slideshow, which I made with photos and music and laughs, but I also built a second deck called Receipts. Jess brought a small printer and an HDMI cable. We tucked the deck on the hotel laptop in a folder labeled Backup 2 because no one checks Backup 2. We also printed hard copies and slid them into a thin binder in case the screen failed, because redundancy is how calm beats chaos. Saturday, the ballroom looked like a dream. Flowers, candles, a white aisle. Sophie hugged me and thanked me for the slideshow, and I told her I loved her because I do. She tries to keep peace without lies. The ceremony was sweet and the photos were fast, and then came dinner and toasts and cake and a first dance that made the room sigh. And timing mattered, so I waited until the smiles felt safe. Then I walked to the DJ and asked for 2 minutes before the slideshow, and he handed me the mic. "Family," I said steady. "I made a slideshow, but first I need to protect something that belongs to me. Please look at the screen." Slide 1 was a photo of my duplex. I said, "My mom left this to me. It is in my name," and people nodded like it was a nice house. Slide 2 was the fake DocuSign with the off-by-1 email circled red. I said, "This is not my lawyer." Slide 3 was the DocuSign audit showing the account created 2 days ago and the IP linked to Kyle's brokerage. Whisper skittered. Slide 4 was the ring video, and the little ring chime filled the ballroom as we all watched Kyle push the envelope through the door at 9:56 p.m. Silverware stopped. Slide 5 was the envelope photo. Trust intake, sign and return, with a new rent account that wasn't mine. Slide 6 was the bank alert for the title search I never ordered. Slide 7 was the family chat screenshot with Pat's "family trust after the wedding" line. A quiet fell that felt like a held breath. Then Slide 8 played audio, a voicemail from 3 days earlier because I let a private number go to voicemail and my app recorded it. Kyle said, "We'll move it before she notices. I got the notary for Monday." And Pat, voice low, said, "Don't text me, call only. Make the DocuSign look real. She's emotional, not technical." Someone's fork hit a plate, and Aunt Debbie covered her mouth. Slide 9 read, "Property plus consent equals respect," and underneath, "No consent equals fraud." And then I clicked Slide 10, the twist Jess pulled from my spam that morning, a lender pre-approval in my name for a line of credit secured by the duplex with a signature block that used my name in the wrong font and a weird M that wasn't mine. I said this wasn't just about moving the deed. This was also setting up to pull money out. Finally, Slide 11 showed my decline and report to DocuSign, the bank fraud case number, and an email from my real lawyer that read, "Title alert filed. County notified. Ready Monday morning." With one big line, "If you try again, I will press charges." Kyle rushed forward and said this was illegal and defamation and that you can't record calls in Texas. And from the back, Jess said, calm as a judge, "Texas is one-party consent and it's a voicemail." The hotel manager drifted closer while the planner talked into a headset, and Pat stood red and shaking and told me to delete it because I was ruining Sophie's night. I looked at Sophie and her eyes were wet in the way that isn't pretty. And I said, "I am not here to ruin a wedding. I am here to stop a theft." The attempts were secret, so the truth is public. Family loves an audience. Sophie turned to them and said, "Is it true?" And nobody answered fast, which is an answer. The DJ cut my mic, the house lights came up, hotel security quietly called 2 city officers who came without sirens, took short statements, and told Kyle and Pat to leave me alone for the rest of the night. Ryan found me and squeezed my hand and said he was sorry and should have seen it, and I said he was here now. Sophie chose a soft old song and danced with her dad, and she did not dance with Kyle. Monday morning, my lawyer sent a packet to title and county records with the DocuSign audit, the ring clip, the dash cam still, the group chat screenshot, the envelope photo, the bank alert, and a transcript of the voicemail. He asked for a fraud flag on my parcel and filed with the state notary office. By noon, Kyle's brokerage suspended his access. By evening, the notary listed on the packet emailed, "I was asked to backdate. I declined." And that helped. The county put a fraud watch on my deed, so any recording attempt now pings my phone, and a lender can't record a lien without me present, which is boring but strong, and my favorite kind of rule. On Wednesday, Kyle sent a long misunderstanding, family vision, optimization apology, and I forwarded it to my lawyer and blocked him. Sophie called, cried, and told me she ended the engagement. I said she didn't fail, she dodged a moving car. Ryan emailed Pat about unity and forgiveness, and I replied once from my account with one line, "Boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection." And then I set a mail filter. A week later, Pat asked to meet at a diner, no pearls, no show, and she looked like someone who finally ran out of wins. And she said she thought she was protecting the family from losing assets, and forgot that I am part of the family. And I said she asked me to disappear. And she said, "I'm sorry, not perfect, but human." We wrote rules on paper and both signed. No talk about my property, no logins shared, no trust forms, visits scheduled, not surprise. Any breach ends the visit. At home, Ryan and I changed the router and all the passwords, turned on two-factor everywhere, added a P.O. box for legal mail, and set a credit freeze. I kept the folder but stopped opening it every day. The duplex stayed mine, the tenants stayed happy, and the rent paid for boring things. Insurance, taxes, repairs, calm. Because calm is expensive, and proof pays for it. At night, we walked around Shawnee Park and practiced the word no, which is small but strong. Months later, Sophie and I had coffee, and she said she thought love meant saying yes to everything, and I said love also means saying no to what harms you. At Thanksgiving, we hosted dessert at our condo, and Pat texted first and waited in the hall until we said, "Come in," and she brought a pie. And she did not bring a form. And before she left, she said, "I'm still learning." And I said, "Me too." And the door clicked, not loud, just final enough. And this is what I learned about revenge. People think it is breaking someone, but healthy revenge is when the harm stops and you live well. And it sounds like a door locking from your side. And it looks like paperwork and a folder of proof. And it feels like pressing play at the right time and letting the truth do the work. I sleep now without checking my phone. My phone sits on the table where only I touch it. The duplex windows catch the morning sun, and the building is plain and beautiful anyway. And if my mom could see me, she would say, "If they want your voice quiet, bring a microphone." And I would tell her I brought a screen and a speaker, same idea. And that this is the end, steady, not loud, enough.